If you're an artist listening to this, you're probably thinking, look, I'm just trying to survive. Why am I even thinking about giving away art or even any percentage of what I'm just trying to hold on to? And I'll tell you that way of thinking is holding you back from a unique opportunity. And I'll share what that is in just a moment. We are all on our paint journey, but where are we now? And where do we go next? This is how. Passion, action, intent, new, teach. This is the Paint Method. Welcome, everybody. My name is David Garibaldi. Thanks for joining this episode of the Paint Method podcast. And we just got back from a wild weekend. I took a little bit of a break from shows during the summer, but we are back in full swing. And I was thinking about doing more of these sort of like recaps after a string of shows and sort of bringing you along like a fly on the wall as we go throw paint around the world. And so this weekend, I want to start there. And also, this weekend was special because there was a common theme, and that common theme had to do with art and charity. And I want to share a little bit more about why I'm so inspired to include that as part of my art business model, but also I want to challenge you on why you should include that in not only your art business model, but if you are running a business, how this could help you and make an impact wherever you go. So I'll share more about that. But let's start off first by talking about what happened this weekend. It started off on Friday night in Auburn, California, and we had an evening show there, and it was to support the ANRAC Charitable Foundation. Now, ANRAC is a huge company here in the Sacramento area, and they employ ton of people, but also they give back a lot to the community. And this event, the evening event, I think they called it the All American Prom. Uh, it was pretty unconventional when you think of a gala. I mean, there was a lot of cowboy hats. There was a lot of red, white, and blue. I mean, I loved it. It was outdoors, beautiful setting at the Auburn Fairgrounds. And from the outside looking in, compared to most galas, this is very unconventional. Usually people are dressed up when it comes to giving. I don't know why, but this particular one, it was like the opposite, and it already felt fun. Most of the music that I even used in my live show was like country music based, and it just had a fun party feel to it. But I did create three paintings on stage at this event for the NRAC Charitable Foundation in Auburn, and the three paintings brought in over $62,000. And I say that with emphasis because we're used to seeing galas where people are in tuxedos, and we think that is the only way to connect with this world. And this was an example that generosity runs deep no matter who you are, where you come from, or what you're wearing. And that was just what was raised from my paintings, the 62,000. They still raised hundreds of thousands of dollars for the Charitable Foundation, which goes to support a lot of U.S. Servicemen and women as they come back and getting them helping them get reacquainted back into civilian life after serving our country. So it was also really special because my friend and collector, Chad Hodges, I don't know if he's listening to this or not, but it was his birthday, so I got to give him a shout out from the stage. He's one of my biggest supporters, collectors, but also one of the most generous people I know. And I do know he ended up walking home with one of those paintings as well. It was also fun to see my friend Taro Arai, who is one of the his family owns Makuni Sushi restaurants. They're one of the most beloved restaurants in the Sacramento area. Great friend of mine. And if you ever go to one of their restaurants in Sacramento, you are 99% have a chance to see my artwork on their walls. It's easy to do to create art for people when you love their product, especially when it's sushi as delicious as theirs. So it's great to see him. And so, anyways, what was interesting about that event is it was on Friday night, but as soon as we were done, we hung out for a little bit. But after that, we went straight to the airport. It was one of those uh, red-eye midnight flights. Made it on time, flew overnight, layover in Chicago, and then eventually the next morning we landed in Fort Wayne, Indiana. you're probably thinking like, what is going on in Fort Wayne? And this was my third or fourth time visiting Fort Wayne. And the one person that keeps bringing me out, and I enjoy it every time, is my friend Brad Miller. Now, in Fort Wayne, I was out there for the Brad Miller Gala to support the Big Brothers Big Sisters of Northeast Indiana. And Brad is former NBA player. I got to know him during his time with the Kings, and also when he retired, he was in Sacramento quite a bit. So as my career was going and growing, he became a huge support along the way, and also a great golfing buddy. He's a great golfer himself. But one thing you may not know is you might pick it up by following him, but Brad is an incredible like outdoorsman. Like he's a hunter. He's uh, just spends a lot of time outdoors, and you wouldn't necessarily think that from an NBA player, but it just goes to show the diversity of the players and someone like Brad. But he is from the area in Fort Wayne. I think he's actually from Kendallville, Indiana. Maybe someone can help me with that. But he spent a lot of time in Fort Wayne growing up, and he was part of the Big Brothers Big Sisters program early on in his life. And eventually, when he did well in the NBA, he wanted to come back and support this organization. So it's been going on now for 20 plus years, and this was my third or fourth time performing for the event. Now, a little fun fact: a few times ago, we had gone to this event, and they set the record for one of my highest grossing paintings in an auction of what it went for. Now that record used to be, and it was set there in Fort Wayne, was $50,000, which is incredible. And again, this is just another example of we're used to thinking about charity galas as like in these big cities and tuxedos. And yes, they're dressed up here in Indiana, but it's just some real down to earth people that are extremely generous to this organization, Big Brothers Big Sisters in Northeast Indiana. And so not only do we have fun at the gala, and I'll share more of what we did throughout the weekend, but I was back to perform, and I did three paintings on stage, and those paintings combined, and we also donated one other art experience as well, but it all went for a combined over $50,000 raised for Big Brothers Big Sisters, which is again such incredible generosity from the audience. Now, I gave just a couple examples. In just 2 days, we raised over $100,000 for charity through these paintings, and 100% of those paintings went to benefit the organizations. And I love these particular organizations because the presentation of the gala is unconventional. One was the All American Prom, and everyone's in sort of like cowboy hats, and we're outdoor at this fairground. The other one is in Fort Wayne, Indiana. They are dressed up. They looked amazing. And I told them I've never seen so many people dressed up inside and the parking lot full of F-150s. So we did get a good laugh out of them from that. But we spent that night raising the money, and it was incredible. But I always look at it like this: yes, I enjoy the process of painting, but I'm only one small part of it, and I just see myself as a conduit between the generous donor and this piece of art that connects with them or connects with the event. And I think that as artists, we have this unique opportunity to do that, to create something that connects with this audience on another level. We get to be that conduit between the generosity and the charity. Now, no, actually, real quick, I want to add before I get into why I started getting into just charity and donating a lot. We continued the next day after the Saturday night, raising money. The next day, we went out, played golf for 18 holes. It's been a while since I've golfed, but I was able to keep up just enough with them. Luckily, it was like they call it a scramble, which is the best ball wherever that one goes. Everyone drops their ball there, and we keep going. But we had a great time. So thank you, Brad, and everyone over there. I had such a great time hanging, and my buddy Hunter as well. So, you know, when I was 25 years old, I realized how much these paintings were going for. I mean, minutes after I had created this painting that took 6 to 7 minutes to create, still dripping wet, that they were being auctioned for tens of thousands of dollars. And I realized that as an artist, I have this unique opportunity. Now, one, I could have looked at it like, great, now we know the value of these paintings, and now we can just sell them to the public at that price, which we could have just done that. But instead, I took this unique opportunity and I asked myself, well, if we raise a couple 100,000 by this point when I was 25, how much more could we raise by the time I turned 30? And if we set this goal, how could this help just drive me through my career when I know times get tough and when I know that I need something extra to push me? How could this purpose or intent push me through? And so at 25, I set this goal and I made it very public at every show going forward that I wanted to raise $1 million for charity by the time I turned 30. Now, this was like doing what we did this weekend. And this is just an example. This weekend, helped raise over $100,000. And so after setting that goal, I did some math. I thought, okay, I think we could make this happen. Fast forward, we end up meeting that $1 million goal just before I turned 30, and we've since raised over $8 million at this point. Now, how that happens is I perform at these charity events and the painting is auctioned off, and what the charity benefits from, that's what we kind of add to this number over time. Just a couple of other examples is, when I went on the tour with Kiss, one of the paintings from each show was auctioned off, and we were able to raise over $1 million on that tour. Recently, I was just on tour with Andrea Bocelli, and again, on that tour, we raised $1 million for their foundation on that tour as well. So, what's interesting about this, and I'll give a few points because if you're an artist listening to this, you're probably thinking, "Look, I'm just trying to survive. Why am I even thinking about giving away art or even any percentage of what I'm just trying to hold on to?" And I'll tell you that way of thinking is holding you back from a unique opportunity. And I'll share what that is in just a moment. And so, when you are able to connect the style of art that you do with the niche of that particular charity event, if your imagery says on behalf what that charity believes in, you become that conduit between the giving. And so if you're an artist and you're asking yourself, okay, look, David, I want to start setting some charitable goals like this. And so I would start to ask yourself this. Well, one, what could the offer be? Like what could you do as an artist right now today? The obvious and the low-hanging fruit is donating art on behalf of yourself or your company to the charity. But it doesn't stop there. It's really important to go along with your art, show up next to it, get to know these donors in these rooms that are the future potential collectors of yours. Now, you could work out different deals with the charity. You could either just donate it outright. You could work off a split that you get a percentage of this as well. Another cool thing is you could also donate an experience. So we do something similar where we donate studio experiences to various charities, and the winning high bidder gets one custom painting. They get to bring up to 30 of their friends here in my studio, and we host them over a few hours. Our friends at McCooney's provide sushi for these, and I kind of do this studio art experience. You could do something similar, even if you had the painting done partially ahead of time, or you're just creating it with them. Maybe find a local food sponsor that could help come along with this that wants to meet these donors. But the most important thing about being an artist when you do this is imagine all the times you ask yourself, where are the collectors? And I want to get them into my studio or my gallery. And how do I do that? This is one of those unique experiences that you could do is donating that experience to a charity. The charity wins. And you win not only by the good of that work, but also filling your studio with 30 more potential collectors. When during that time, obviously, you want to make sure that you collect emails and information from people that may seem interested and start building that relationship. But you know, when you look at the opportunity of donating art or including your art as something that's charitable, I'll say this. I have had so many huge opportunities come through creating art because of charity. And I think more than just being a performance painter. Now, the painting has to speak for itself, and the art and the experience has to be done at the highest level possible. But when we talk about, when I went on tour with Kiss as the opener, the big part of that opportunity was that they wanted to auction off the last painting and raise money for the charity. We've done this with Josh Groban and with other organizations, most recently with Andrea Bocelli. So there's some really big, unique opportunities that come from this and put us in front of collectors that we would never have had we thought how I started this conversation. When you're asking yourself, look, I'm an artist trying to hold on to what I can. And I'll say it again, that way of thinking is holding you back from potentially meeting and connecting with some incredible new collectors. Like I met in Auburn, California at the All American prom, to Fort Wayne, Indiana. The collectors I met, people that didn't even buy the paintings, but we met them and connected with them. And maybe in the future, but that's how this goes. It's just like any other business where you're constantly making a flow of just making new connections and building your network no matter where you are. Now, I'll leave you with this. And this is for those of you who are artists looking for just a bigger reason to push. Or maybe you are working for a company now and you're just thinking, like, look, I don't want to change what I'm doing. I just want to give it some more purpose or intent. So I would ask yourself this: what could I produce on my own, whether it's art or a service or time, that doesn't change my life or my lifestyle or my work, doesn't affect that? But what could I produce that I could either donate or give on behalf of myself or the company that you work for to a charity so that you could take part in a bigger purpose in someone else's life or in the community that you live in. I shared earlier my friend Taro Arai, who was with Mikuni Sushi. He's been one of the biggest inspirations to me because they haven't just crushed it as a business, they've also crushed it on giving to breast cancer research and different local charities. I mean, millions and millions of dollars on top of building their business. And as an artist and a person who I want to make an impact in my community, I think about how do I give as I go instead of changing my life and my lifestyle to be able to make an impact. And so that is my challenge to you. And I want to leave you with this. Obviously, I wanted to give a little fun recap about the weekend, which was incredible, but also the bigger picture. We had this weekend because we had the opportunity to give. It's ultimately why we were gone. What that was our purpose to be there. Yes, to entertain, but how can we make an impact? And I would just challenge you with this: is how could you make an impact by using the resources that you have, time, talent, or your resources, whatever that is, and how could you give as you go? And what bigger purpose would that give you? And what greater impact would that make on the people you come in contact with in your community? And the plus, this is just extra, that maybe along the way you meet some pretty cool new collectors along the way, as I've met some incredible ones and even more this weekend. And if you're not an artist, you still have the potential to connect with other leaders in the community that live for the same purpose as you. So I think this goes without being said, but if you're new to the paint method, intent is one of the pillars of this paint. Passion, action, intent, what we're talking about today, new and to teach. These are all principles that build the paint method. And I truly believe that we are somewhere on this paint journey and you're just on the cusp of discovering maybe where that is. And once you do, you have the power to create what's next. Instead of going along with this life and just letting others decide for you or thinking, well, this is just what happens next. No, you create what happens next. And I just challenge you, use the paint method as a tool to ask yourself, am I at the beginning, the middle, or the end of this journey? If you're at the end, you have a new fresh canvas to start over on. So I just want to thank you again for listening to this Paint Method podcast. And I'm gonna start doing this more at the end, but I'm not gonna ask in the beginning. But at the end, I will ask that if you are benefiting from these at all, just ask that if you're watching this on YouTube, just to ask that you would subscribe and hit the notification so you get updated anytime we post new videos. And if you're listening to this on any audio platform, just to hit that follow button, and it just does it's a huge help to us so that anytime we post some new stuff, it pops up in your realm, and hopefully you get to take a chance to listen to new episodes. My name is David Garibaldi. You can follow me at Garibaldi Arts across different platforms. And if you don't already follow the Paint Method on any platform, go follow at the Paint Method as well. I post a lot of uh, different content on there that's more geared towards the paint methods that hopefully you can benefit from. So, my name is David Garibaldi. Until the next episode, I will see you soon.